Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. A quick thought for the day. So this is going to be quite a short video and I'm just sharing with you what I'm thinking at the moment, and that is, so this vehicle's come in, I'm not 100% sure, I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure it's a 2010, it could be an 11. You can see, I'll just show you the headlights. You know, it's got the older headlights, 150 PRADO. And it comes in for a 150k service, and I look at it and I say, geez, you look neat, clean, neat and tidy, and everything's good. I go, why is that? So firstly, it hasn't got a whole heap of aftermarket accessories added. Okay, it hasn't got anything actually under the bonnet, so I'm not recommending that because you need to use the vehicle as it was designed to be used. But I just want to point out, everything is in awesome, like it's not like it's just been cleaned, you know, you can see there's dust and stuff, whatever around. It'll get a clean up after this service anyway, because we'll make a little bit of mess, you know, the time we do the timing belt and the coolant and the water pump and the dry belt, the bearings. We call it the big front engine job. That's what's happening here. It's part of our 150. Our 150 is a bit different, so I'll tell you about that as well. But I just want to say, why is this car so good? Well, there's a couple of reasons, right? It's A, because it's a Toyota. Okay, so awesome engineering, and it hasn't been messed with, if you like. I think I did the injectors a few years ago, probably when they were about 7 years old. Again, pre-DLCs they were, so we upgrade to DLC injectors. But it just hasn't been messed with. It's all just kept clean, neat and tidy, you know what I mean? It's just happy. It runs really well, really smooth, drives really well. So on this service, we're going to be putting in new suspension as well. So couple of things to think about at 150. the safety triangle, tyres, brakes and shockers. So tyres, you can see the wear. Brakes, and it's got new tyres again, actually might be on, it must be the one, two, probably third set, new tyres now. So tyres, brakes and shockers. Brakes we'll have a look at, I can't remember if we've done the brakes, and shockers is the one where you can't see the wear. 150,000 k's is a long time, and there's a lot of these running around on older suspension than that. And it works, I get it, but you are hitting on the bump stops and the safety level just isn't there. They do fade away and wear slowly generally, and it's worth upgrading. So we're going to put a fresh set of dampeners in this. That's the struts and the shockers front and rear. And the other thing we do, as I said, is the big front engine job. We combine the coolant change from the 160 bring it back to 150 and do that water pump at the same time, because if they don't leak now, it probably will before 300 and be inconvenient. So you just do it as prevention. It's got a bearing in there like everything else. The other thing on this service by schedule that you could be paying for, that in our opinion it's not really worth it, this is your call though, you know, we could be wrong, but for a long time the fuel pump, okay, so I'm not talking about the injection supply pump down here, I'm talking about the one in the tank. For a long time it wasn't a standard replacement item at 150. And we certainly don't see them fail. It's a super duper low percentage. It's less than alternator. So what I would suggest is, it's up to you, but you can save yourself a heap of money by not changing that pump, because obviously the tank's got to come out, quite a bit of labor, and the way to do it is just to replace the whole unit anyway, because when there is issues, it's not usually the pump, it's usually other related issues. So by removing it, cleaning it out, replacing that whole component, it eliminates, I'll say usually eliminates, you've still got to change that transfer pump and a few other things, but we don't think that's worth doing. For the simple, let me explain to you this way. It's a very low percentage, but alternators do fail on these. Alternators down there under the compressor, right? They do fail on these as well. If we were going to replace something as prevention, I'd much rather replace the alternator, because it's around about the same cost, well even cheaper with labour fitted, because we're doing the big front engine job. Now, I'm not recommending you change the alternator when there's nothing wrong with it, but there's more alternators fail than fuel pumps. So what I'm trying to explain is a bit of common, uncommon sense. Again, that uncommon, common sense that's not so common, that's common, it's not common, it's common with some people. Anyway, the old Irish way of thinking, whatever. Change things that really, you know, if you see something, the things that I recommend you change, like the front wheel bearings, you know, and again, it varies, that's another video, and the few other things that come up at 2, 3, 400,000, they're all recommendations based on averages of what we see, and working on just Prados, I reckon we sort of see enough to sort of work out what the averages are, and I certainly don't think it's worth wasting your money on that fuel pump. But anyway, little informative video for you. You know I love these engines, these cars are great, drives great, no problem. Usually when there's a problem, it's because the wrong person's worked on it. You know, you just get in there and have a look at this. It's just like original, right? That's what I'm saying. It hasn't just been cleaned or whatever. Obviously this one doesn't go off-road or go off-road much. There's a bit of dust around, but not much. But it's just looked after, it's clean. The main thing is the wrong people haven't worked on it. So just be really careful where you take your vehicle. Understand it, watch the videos, get yourself educated. Bit of coronavirus there. And you know, simple things. You can learn how to change your air filter and filters yourself and stuff like that if you need to, if you can't find someone. But we also have a few people around the country, in Australia that is, to help out with your servicing, people that we think can do the job right. Look, generally servicing, you should be right, you'd think. You got to be careful where it comes to that valve clearance every 40,000 Ks, because often what they do is they get in here and they take those fuel pipes off. And in this case, it's probably a fairly clean one, but you can see where the muck can accumulate under those nuts there, right in the middle of the picture and the bottom of those seals, and flinging those off and things, that's where dirt and stuff, it's just contaminate. Risky contamination is way too high. Anyway, guys, hope you appreciate what I'm showing you. Just a really, what's the word? Honest, a really honest Prado. Just the way they should be before it's been, you know, wrecked by the butchers, let's say, you know. So, and this one won't be getting wrecked because he's well educated, he follows the information, very careful where he takes it in particular about it. And that's the way you need to be, unfortunately, because there's way too many places out there with the wrong people working there. It is hard to get the right staff. Pay peanuts and you get monkeys, they say, and that's spot on what it is. The industry is, we're working on motor vehicles here. It's well undervalued, and the money that you pay, a very small percentage of it gets to the technician, unfortunately, so it's hard to keep the right guys. Anyway, here it is. Beautiful example, and you know, as they say, bada bing, bada boom. Have a nice day, guys. See ya. So here we are out in the afternoon breeze, and the job's done. The service is done. The big front engine job, so new water pump, timing belt set up, the whole drive belt, everything. You know the deal. As I said, just nice, clean. Gave it a bit of a clean up, you know, wasn't too bad, as I said. Just a really good example of how things can be when they're looked after.